Dr. Matthew Green is a professor of politics at the Catholic University of America. He joins us now. Matthew, this debate had, for the first time in my memory, substantive discussion on gender transition procedures for minors and parent rights. Do you see this issue as being an important one for GOP voters in 2024?
Well, it's hard to see if it's going to be that important. Certainly in the general election, this is not an issue that seems to have a broad interest. It's certainly not at the top of most voters' minds. Within the Republican base, it may be an issue, and it could conceivably determine the outcomes of some early races, some early primaries. But mostly voters care about, from what we can tell, things like inflation, the deficit, crime. These are issues that are generally front and center for the majority of voters.
You know, there seems to be a prominent ideological divide among the GOP candidates on the United States' role in foreign policy affairs. Is this a new trend within the Republican Party?
Well, there's always been a strain of isolationism in the Republican Party, but it really came to the fore with the election of Donald Trump in 2016. And then members of Congress who were reflecting what they deemed as this new rise in isolationism following Trump's election, to the point that, 20 years ago, you would not have seen members of either party really seriously contesting whether we should give funding to Ukraine, for example, against Russia. But now we do. And so this is, I would say, a new and prominent strain in the Republican Party.
Christie had the most aggressive attacks against Trump last night. The others, I would say, were more muted. Can you speak to the fine line that these candidates need to walk when discussing Trump in this race so that they don't isolate his supporters?
Well, as long as there's a sense that Trump's supporters are the key to the nomination, then Trump has a tremendous advantage. And other candidates really have a difficult time. They can either challenge Trump and then lose those supporters, or they can not challenge Trump, in which case Trump retains the support of those supporters. And so it is really a very difficult line that the other candidates have been trying to navigate. And I would say so far, neither the anti-Trump line, which is the Christie line, or the let's keep the Trump supporters happy approach, as Governor DeSantis and others have done, neither seem to have worked very well, frankly.
Mm-hmm. On a different topic, California Representative Kevin McCarthy stunned D.C. with news yesterday that he is resigning. So in a span of a few months, he went from Speaker of the House to being voted out as Speaker to now leaving before his term is up. Matthew, what does this reveal about the health of our Congress today?
Well, I think what it tells us is that while Congress may be healthy, it's really the House Republican Party that has significant issues. And this is only the latest in a string of Republican speakers who have either resigned or been forced to step down or have chosen not to run again, because the party is fundamentally a divided party, and it's not ideologically divided. It's divided over whether or not what kind of tactics and strategy to use and whether or not to be loyal to party leaders. And as long as you've got a faction of Republicans who are willing to challenge their leaders on their power and their authority, it's going to be very, very difficult for any future Republican Party, and the majority especially, to govern effectively.
I mean, to that point, the House GOP had a razor-thin majority. Now it's even thinner. How's that going to play out for the rest of this term?
It's going to continue to pose challenges, and even more challenges for the current speaker, Mike Johnson, because he has so few votes to work with. It'll be almost impossible for him to pass legislation that's highly partisan, given his party is so small and it does not agree on everything. But the problem, of course, is if he works with Democrats, depending on the issue, he may get pushback from the more conservative members of his party. And they still have rules in the House that allow any one member to try to remove a speaker. And so that is sort of Damocles hanging over Mike Johnson. And I'd say that with McCarthy's decision to leave early, that sword is getting a little bit closer to Speaker Johnson's head.
Dr. Matthew Green, thank you for your time.